All right, are you ready? So this is going to be a little bit long just because we're a little bit behind. So this is going to run from September 16th through the 28th. Lots of days.
Let's get some history.
Actually, plus a couple that I wrote down. So it'll be a little bit longer then. Probably through like the end of September.
Let's get some knowledge.
Let's do it. All right. September 16th, 1620 was the year the Mayflower departs England for the New World. Obviously, the Mayflower being like where all the Pilgrims came from, and the Mayflower Compact and all that.
They were
good
leaving
stuff.
for religious
Because of religious persecution.
Oh, I was gonna say conflict, but yeah, okay.
September 16th, 1810, the Mexican Revolution for Independence breaks out against I didn't write this down.
I
The
forgot
French
who
or it was either the French or the Spanish. One of the two. Probably
yeah,
the
because it was he was installed from the French, I believe, and then that dude got massacred.
September 16th, 1908, General Motors files to become a corporation. So it's like really like General Motors was founded on that day. And September 16th, 1940, Congress passes the Selective Service Act, which was the first ever peacetime draft in United States history, because we had not yet entered into World War II.
Oh, yeah. I think I did. I think I remember reading that when I'm working on the World War II video. Yeah.
September 17th, 1787, the Philadelphia Convention approves the draft of the Constitution. Obviously a very important day. Constitution Day.
Yeah, those dates are like weird and not mixed up, but like there's different days where things were like confirmed or started. It kind of confuses me sometimes.
Like even like
Yeah.
July 4th, like the declaration was like written on the 2nd or whatever, but it
Yeah.
wasn't signed till the 4th.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
the 4th
yeah.
is Independence Day or whatever. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Makes
There's all
no
sorts of
sense.
weird kind of ambiguous dates in early US history. September 17th, 1796, George Washington gives his farewell address to Congress, setting a 2-term precedent for holding office. That was followed all the way up until FDR.
Yes.
Yeah. And FDR's like, I want to be president as many times as you elect me. And then Congress was like, we're going to pass an amendment.
Yeah,
You're not going to do that no more.
I don't think there's very many other presidents that would have gotten that opportunity, but yeah.
I think that possibly, I don't know. Because you don't know how, like, Vietnam is going to go if JFK doesn't get shot.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like JFK was certainly young enough, and I feel like he could have been someone that might have served more than 2 terms had he not been killed.
He was like was he the youngest serving president?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's true. Where are we? I lost my spot. Oh, September 17th, 1862, the Battle of Antietam begins. It was the bloodiest day in American history, and there were 26,293 casualties. This was a Civil War battle, so America versus America, versus Confederate America.
That's like, it's still weird to like look at those. I mean, I don't want to say look at those numbers in a bad way, but and to see like how many people, like we've had all these wars and whatnot, and we still haven't hit anything close to those numbers, which is a good and bad thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
Deaths.
September 17th, 1916, Manfred von Richthofen, also known as the Red Baron, scored his first aerial victory in World War I.
Nice.
September 17th, 1939, the Soviet Union invades Poland. September 13th, 1962, the Justice Department files the first federal lawsuit to end public school segregation. It's kind of a big step for integration and like the civil rights movement in the 60s.
Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Right, governor of Alabama?
I think Alabama, yeah.
Forgot his name.
Yeah, I forgot his name too. But
I think he ran for president after that too.
didn't go well.
Yeah.
September 17th, 1976, NASA reveals the space shuttle program to the American public.
Nice. Von Braun. Yeah, Von Braun. One of the guys that helped built the rockets for the Nazis. But then One of the biggest resources we've gained in World War II were all the scientists.
Interesting. September 18th,
Me too.
1793. George Washington lays the foundation stone for the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
Nice.
What
a hardworking man.
October. Well, he was there just as like a. I'm sure he like dropped it the last like inch and be like, "Hey, photo opportunity," Although they didn't have photos back then.
I was like, you said photo. I was like,
but the principle was exactly the same. It was like all the newspaper reporters were there, like, "Oh, George Washington."
draw this.
September 18th, 1977, Voyager 1 takes the first photo of the Earth and Moon together. It like flew past the moon and like.
I'm saying like that's a interesting angle.
Yeah. And then it went on to be in a Star Trek movie. Sorry.
I don't watch Star Trek.
Oh, well, it's which one is it? Honestly, I don't even remember at this point. But I think it's.
How dare you?
I think it's 4.
You're Trekking. You don't remember the Discovery. How dare you?
I'm blanking. I don't. Maybe it is the first one. Maybe it is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Anyway, there's this like thing hurtling back towards Earth, and it's being like basically Voyager 1 got like
hit by an asteroid.
Like sentient, kind of, and so like it comes back, and it's looking for its maker, so it's coming back to Earth.
That makes no sense. But okay.
Yeah. So, but like in Star Trek, they call it V'ger, because that's what they think it's called, and then they actually get into like the core of this thing, and like the space probe is in the core, and like the nameplate is like all dirty, and so like the only letters that are visible are what make it say V'ger, but like he wipes it off and it says Voyager 1.
What the?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Whatever. And then it like merges with a human. Yeah, it gets weird.
That's why I don't want Star Trek. Oh my goodness.
September 20th. Oh wait, did I skip September 19th? Oh yeah, I did skip. September 19th, 1893, New Zealand becomes the first nation to grant women the right to vote. All the way back in the 19th century.
Good on you, New Zealand.
September
Kiwis.
20th. September 20th, 1519, Ferdinand Magellan leaves Spain to circumnavigate the globe on his little boat. It was on a little boat. It was like a frigate, but.
Yeah, that's Isabella. I think she wasn't like the she didn't get the throne through what's it called? Through like hereditary or inherit? She won, like her and her husband won it through like a battle or civil war.
I think
or
so.
something
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that, but yeah.
September 20th, 1934, Bruno Hauptmann is arrested for the kidnapping and murder of Charles Lindbergh's child. That was like one of the big like scandals in the early 1900s.
Yeah, that's J. Edgar Hoover. That was in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. September 20th, 1973, Billie Jean King defeats Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes. There's some rumor that he threw that match to pay off his gambling debt.
Nope, that makes sense.
That like he like had the mob or whatever like bet on Billie Jean King.
Dude, the mob's crazy, but that's another story for another day.
And there was a decent movie made about it called Battle of the Sexes with Emma Stone and Steve Carell. Yeah. September 20th, 2001, George W. Bush declares war on terror. And that really like kickstarted all of our re-involvement in like the Middle East.
Yeah.
After 9/11.
A lot of I'm taking a history class right now on 1945 to present, and there is a change in enemies and like the wording, like communism kind of turned into terrorism, like those kind of that way. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, cool.
September 21st, 1915. This one it's like not really significant, I guess, but I thought it was kind of funny. Stonehenge is sold for £6,600 to a guy named Mr. Chubb. He bought it as a gift for his wife, and 3 years later he gifted it back to the United Kingdom. He straight up bought his wife Stonehenge.
Did he have a chub while he was doing it?
Don't know. September 21st, 1891, Belize is granted independence from Britain. September 21st, 1991, Armenia is granted independence from the Soviet Union. So lots of independence going on September 21st.
Dang.
September 22nd, 1862, Abraham Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation. Basically, the premise of this was the government had the right to seize property of enemies of the state, basically. And so since the South thought of slaves as their property, he like kind of made his own loophole in the law to like free all the slaves because they were being seized by the Union.
Did you have to ever remember like the speech in class?
So when I was in school, we had what was called the speech meet, and it was like this annual thing, and you had to pick something. I always picked historical ones, but it didn't have to be historical. It could be like famous poems or stuff like that, or like passages from famous novels.
Yeah, I think it was 5th grade. We had to like each of us had to remember it, and we had to do like say it in class.
Yeah, we had to do that too.
Or
And then
maybe
we had like check-ins. We had when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I chose the Gettysburg Address for my thing, and for my speech meet thing. And so like it was like a monthly thing, and like by the first month you had to be able to say like this much of it, and then like by the second month you had to be able to get this far straight. So like it was like this progressive thing, and then like the people who were the best at the end, there was like a state competition, and so like the school would send, or like there was like a county and then like a state thing. So like we would send like a few students from each grade level, and like there were like judges and like all this thing. And you had to, like if you were really good at reciting things, and some people got like super into it. They would like dress up into like matching like
the
to
period.
like match the time.
Yeah, the only thing I remember as like 7 years ago, our founding fathers brought forth
on this
nation.
I don't know, a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created
That's
equal.
as far as I go. And I remember, I don't know, I remember having to remember that speech, and like I was like so scared to like when you know when you get an assignment like real early, because you got it like we got this like way ahead of time, and I was just like, after what?
Yeah.
It wasn't like going up in class and talking. It was just like I had to remember all of that. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, I had to do it. I think it was like 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, or 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember even what I did. I think one time I did the preamble to the Constitution. One time I did the Gettysburg Address, and I don't remember what the third one was.
Yeah, I took a speech
But
class.
I always chose the historical ones.
Like my junior high was pretty sick. We had like an actual like speech class, so you can actually just take that. I was like, that's pretty. Did a lot of cool things in that one. But yeah.
September 22nd, 1961, JFK signs the order creating the Peace Corps. September 22nd, 1970, Nixon signs the bill giving the District of Columbia representation in Congress.
So okay.
September 23rd, way back in good old 63 BC, Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor, is born.
Ooh.
And then a whole whopping like almost 2,000 years later, on September 23rd, 1806, Lewis and Clark returned to St. Louis after 3 years of expedition throughout the frontier.
I always feel like I say Sacagawea. I've heard Sacagawea, and I'm like, can we just get one?
Can we pick one, please?
Yeah, can we just pick one?
Yeah.
What's it called? Night Museum.
Oh yeah.
That's what, I remember learning about it in class, and then remember I was like, oh wait, I know that. I know that person.
Yeah. September 24th, 1755, Chief Justice John Marshall is born. He was the 4th Chief Justice of the United States.
Ooh.
Or the United States Supreme Court.
Marshall.
September 24th, 1789, Congress passes the Judiciary Act of 1789, which formally establishes the Supreme Court. One thing, and like how it was going to be formatted. So it was 1 Chief Justice and 5 justices. So what's interesting is that like there actually had to be like a 51% majority wasn't enough. Or well, I mean that's not how the math will work out, but you had to have 4-2 vote to pass anything. And I was actually, while I was on vacation, something came up that we were discussing about the Supreme Court. Oh, I was curious if, like, say Kavanaugh's thing like doesn't work out, and so like that'll mean there was only 8 people on the Supreme Court. So I was like, I wonder if there's ever not been like 9 people. And so like I looked it up, I didn't even realize it. So like it started with 6,
Yeah.
and then it went to
changed it.
7, and then it went to 9, and then it went. I think it got all the way up to like 13, if I remember correctly, and then it came back down.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, so there's been like a really weird, like it's changed a lot.
I think it just depends on the time of the date or like whatever. You know what I mean?
The date.
Like how do I say it? It was adjusted for the times, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was just weird. I like didn't know that. It's something interesting. September 24th, 1896, F. Scott Fitzgerald was born.
F. Scott Fitzgerald. I just what do you wrote? Great Gatsby, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. September 24th, 1956, the first transatlantic telephone cable begins operation, so you can call your friend in England.
I'm good.
There you go. September 24th, 1957, President Eisenhower sends federal troops to protect black students entering the newly integrated high school in Little Rock, Arkansas. So
Yeah.
another kind of like, probably one of the, I would say maybe catalysts of like at least the 1960s civil rights kind of movement.
Yeah, I've gone down to Little Rock, but I don't think it was. Yeah, 'cause that where my uncle lives is in Fayetteville. It's like right next to the Arkansas campus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
September 24th, 1960, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier launches, and it was called the USS Enterprise, because they're Star Trek fans too. No, I'm just kidding.
I just don't understand how you can have like I don't understand the science in getting like a nuclear reactor on a ship. It just seems weird to me,
Yeah, well.
but it works.
September 25th, we got a few more days. I know this is kind of running long because
okay.
we were so far behind. September 25th, 1396, the last of the Christian Crusades ends with defeat to the Ottomans. They all got killed.
Yes.
Not all of them, but they lost.
A lot of them died.
Sorry, go ahead.
Good.
Jinx.
I'm not buying you a soda.
Were you gonna say something about the Crusades?
Yeah. I was reading. I'm taking a Middle East political class, and I was reading some history on it, and lo and behold, the occupiers, or not occupiers, the people that the Christians were fighting, like the Muslims or the Islamic forces, they were not afraid of the there's at times, yes, the Crusaders captured them, but like they were more afraid of the Mongols than
I see what you mean.
I thought that was hilarious, because the Mongols came in and wrecked. And a lot of just pillaging of like all that land, and I'm just like, they were more. I thought that was funny. Like I laughed, I chuckled a little bit when I read that.
September 25th, 1789, Congress proposes 12 amendments to the newly adopted Constitution. What's interesting about this is that really the only reason that our Bill of Rights is 10 is because the 11th and 12th weren't adopted on the same day as the 10. So these 12 amendments included what is the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
But they were just adopted on a different day. And then just a few years later, 15 years later, September so it took 15 years for this 12th Amendment to get ratified. September 25th, 1804, the 12th Amendment is ratified, and the 12th Amendment changes the presidential election process. So in in elections before that, which would only really have been a few, the person that came in second in the presidential election was the vice president.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, which is like I can't even imagine like that today.
Well, I think those group of guys, or whatever you want to call it, founding fathers, kind of were more. I think at the time it probably made sense for those guys to work together, but nowadays that doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah. But there wasn't quite there were Federalists and Anti-Federalists, but like they were basically just all Americans.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really a big deal that Thomas Jefferson was John Adams' vice president, because like for the most part, like they did have some differences in how they thought things should go, but like first off, it was very civil.
Yeah.
And secondly, it was like they also like agreed on like a lot of things.
Yeah.
Where was I? September 26th now, 1777. The British Army captures the city of Philadelphia during the Revolutionary War.
Philly.
September 26, 1913, the first boat passes through the Panama Canal, which was like a very big deal for shipping and transport and like everything at the time, like not having to sail all the way around South America. Every single time you had to go to the West Coast or to the Middle East or to the like Far East or whatever.
Who wants to go to South America?
September 26, 1960, Richard Nixon, who was then vice president, and JFK, who was a senator from Massachusetts at the time, participated in the first ever televised presidential debate leading up to the, I guess it would have been the 1960 election. Oh, yeah. Maybe that's why it says 1960 right here. Yeah. So the 1960 election.
Very interesting just day and how really it's set up to what we have today, honestly.
Yeah. It was one of the, I remember people always talking about this as if, or as like the first, because it was televised, it really helped JFK because JFK, even though he wasn't as good of a speaker, or not, that's not the right word, but like he couldn't defend his positions as well as Richard Nixon, he came off as more charismatic and like a younger, like more vibrant person than like old Richard Nixon. Like, so the, like kind of the stark contrast was made like glaringly obvious because it was televised on national television.
It was another thing too where you couldn't be a charismatic president anymore too. That was like the last day, or not the last day, the day Eisenhower would have been like the last president where you couldn't like you don't have to be a charismatic president.
Yeah.
Like Thomas Jefferson was like never did any of these kind of things. It was just kind of crazy. Like some presidents like that in the past.
Yeah.
Which is like, it kind of makes you think like, man, like we might get better presidents if we just don't have like these kind of these debates in a way. Because sometimes some people are not like, are just a little not antisocial, just like they don't do well, and I think that's like a weird thing. Like just because he can't talk in public doesn't mean he can't fix problems. He's probably can fix problems better than some. Like that's like a weird. Just like how, what was it? There was another thing we were talking about presidents or people that would probably never be able to run for some reasons. But like that's just weird how like you have to be that. And, like that doesn't make any like, I don't know. To me, it seems already like that's what the day like our presidential election started to break down.
Yeah. The person that jumps out to me just from what I've read is James Madison when it comes to people like that, or it's like the dude was 5'4", like did not like to speak publicly. From what I've read, like a lot of his speeches and a lot of his like things that he did, he would give it to other people to bring to the so like he would write or be the beginning of like some new idea or like when he wrote the Constitution and stuff like that. And then he would give those writings and his thoughts to other people who he thought were better speakers. And so like he like didn't want to do any of the public speaking himself. And but like he ended up being president. And like most people probably never even knew that he wasn't even most people probably never even knew that he was 5'4" and never even knew that he wasn't that good of a speaker and like stuff like that. Like that would never fly today.
Yeah, I think it's I think that stuff kind of started, like in my eyes, from what I'm thinking off the top of my head, that stuff kind of started from like World War II with all that propaganda stuff, and how like it elevated you. Like that's how Hitler and like Mussolini got really elevated through like on a screen, and like see how like you didn't have to be there, which is like kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
like I said, it's for me, it's just like it's a bad way of going about electing a president to me, my eyes.
Yeah. Speaking of, I guess, kind of revolutionary times a little bit there. September 27th, 1722, Samuel Adams was born. Whose greatest contribution... No, I'm just kidding. I was going to say his greatest contribution is a line of beer. That's not true.
I think he was a cousin, right?
Cousin of John Adams.
John Adams, yeah. Okay.
Did I say brother?
I thought... Oh, no, I was about to say brother, but I was like, he's a cousin.
No, cousin, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Dude, oh no, did you? There was a revolutionary show I used to watch, or not I watched, but I got shown, like when we were learning about the revolution. It was a guy that was, or it was about a kid in the revolutionary time that was becoming an apprentice for like civil work or something like that.
Okay.
And I believe it was for Sam Adams. Like his apprenticeship was to Sam Adams, because I think Sam Adams was actually a silversmith or something like that. Maybe
I don't remember.
I have to double check. But there's a show. It was really interesting because it like introduced you and kind of gave you a good visual of like the times and whatnot. But yeah, it was an old show back in the like maybe late 70s, early 80s.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. September 27th. I threw just a little bit of sports in here.
Sports.
September 27th, 1920. The Chicago Black Sox are charged with fixing the 1919 World Series. So it's like
Yes.
Shoeless Joe Jackson and like
Field
all
of
the-
Dreams.
Oh yeah, that's true as well.
Kevin Costner, right?
Yep.
And Darth Vader. Forgot his name.
Darth Vader, James Earl Jones.
There you go.
It took me for a second there. I was like James Earl Jones. What came in my head? But I was like, Darth Vader's not black.
Dude, if any of you guys have a chance, watch James Earl Jones or James. I can't say his name.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl. I was saying I don't know Earl Jones. In Fences on the original play, like those, like
he's really good.
he's better than
he's really
the
Denzel Washington.
Washington's performance, like by far, like by a mile, like he's like literally low key is like one of my favorite actors.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with
ever.
that. September 27th, 1939, Germany captures the city of Warsaw, which completes the conquest of Poland.
Yeah, that place got torn up, dude.
Which took them, let's see, that started on September 1st of 1939, so it took them 27 days to destroy Poland entirely. And obviously the
Split
Soviet Union
Split it three
was
ways.
involved in that. And September 27th, 1950, the United States Army liberates Seoul, South Korea during the Korean War.
Yeah, that war is like a weird, like the borders or the lines. What do you call the lines like in war? Like the where you like that's like this is the side
The
of
front line?
front line. Yeah, those front lines always like the way I've always seen it on maps and like they do like when it goes to each year it's like weird. I'm like, God damn, this is so chaotic.
September 28th, 1066. William, the Duke of Normandy, who would later become William the Conqueror, invades England. Yeah.
Was he successful?
Yeah, that's why he became William the Conqueror.
Oh, okay. No, because I feel like I think I know like there's only like been like one. He's like the only one person that's ever done that. Right?
To like completion, basically. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the Romans got there, but like they weren't like they were still doing.
There was some because like
tribes.
what's the Britannia, the Thrones of Britannia or whatever.
Mhm.
That it's like the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok came over and like trashed England too. But
yeah.
and then jump another like 1,000 years almost. September 28th, 2008. It's probably one of the most recent. I guess we did. Oh no, this is probably the most recent that we've ever had in like the This Week in History thing.
For sure.
Oh no, actually, I think I had the Benghazi thing in there before I left.
Oh yeah.
So, September 28th, 2008, SpaceX launches the first ever private spacecraft, Falcon 1.
SpaceX. That's Elon Musk, right?
What?
Elon Musk?
Yes, that is Elon Musk. Him and Tesla and SpaceX and all that. Real quick, I'm gonna hit just like the rest of September real quick. This is already like super long.
It's all good.
I accidentally skipped September 29th, so I'm sorry. That date doesn't exist. September 30th, 1939, Germany takes control of the Sudetenland, which is a small portion of Czechoslovakia that had like a German-speaking minority. And so Germany and Italy signed this agreement that like allowed them to take that land into Germany, basically just annex it. September 30th, 1949, the Berlin airlift ended after 277,264 supply drops were made
Damn.
into like East Germany and East Berlin.
Crazy times.
Yep. So that is it. That catches us up through the entirety of the month of September. So we'll be back on our regular schedule now that our recording will be back to a regular schedule.
Yeah.
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 So there you go.
Let us know if we miss anything, ladies and gentlemen. If there's any cool facts that you want to lay down in the comments down below, and we can discuss it. But yeah, that's been a week in history, but it's been more than a week that we discussed.
2 weeks in history.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get back at it next week, and yeah, that was fun. I like hearing it and then talking about it, like some of the stuff that I just know. But yeah, it's interesting, or to lay in some weird stuff too that I've brought up that has sometimes doesn't have a connection, but like the date hits me and I'm like, oh, I remember this.
Yep.
Yeah.